Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dollar X Dollar Finance, a channel that revolves around money. Albert Einstein once famously said, "The most powerful force in the universe is not the atomic bomb, but compound interest combined with time." Value investors especially love harnessing the power of compounding over long periods to achieve high returns. The most iconic figure among them? The legendary investor Warren Buffett. Starting from a struggling textile company in 1965, Berkshire Hathaway surpassed $1 trillion in market value by 2025, making Warren Buffett's net worth exceed $169 billion. His annual return is approximately 20%. Of course, Buffett is a godlike exception, and maintaining such returns is far from easy. But it does demonstrate how terrifyingly powerful compounding can be. So, what exactly is compound interest? Before we dive into it, let's hear a classic story that illustrates it. In ancient India, a minister named Sissa invented the game of chess. The king was so impressed that he offered to reward him handsomely. When asked what he wanted, Sissa said, "Your Majesty, I ask for nothing but this. Place 1 grain of wheat on the first square of the chessboard, 2 on the second, 4 on the third, and so on, doubling the amount with each square, until all 64 squares are filled. Then simply grant all that wheat to your humble servant." The king, thinking this was a modest request, gladly agreed. But as they began delivering the wheat, bag after bag, he realized he had been tricked. Even if all the wheat in India or even the world were collected, it wouldn't be enough to fulfill the minister's request. Though the king was rich and powerful, he was still utterly helpless in the face of such exponential growth. Someone calculated that it would take about 821 tons of wheat to fill the board this way. Based on global wheat production at the time, it would take over 1,000 years to fulfill the demand. That's how staggering compound growth can be. The story above shows us something crucial. Compound interest isn't something we can feel intuitively. Most people think just like the king in the story. What's the big deal? It's just a grain of wheat doubling on a little chessboard. At first glance, it seems insignificant, but the terrifying effects of compounding lie far beyond what we can see in the short term. Things that don't feel urgent or don't show a difference right away are often ignored by the majority. But if you can harness the invisible forces of nature that others overlook, you gain a tremendous advantage. Let me ask you a question. If I offer you $1 million per day for 30 days, or instead give you $1 on day 1, 2 on day 2, 4 on day 3, doubling each day for a month, which would you choose? Most people instinctively choose the first one. Wow, $1 million a day? That's amazing. But the truth mirrors the chessboard story. If you choose option 1, you'll end up with $30 million. But if you choose option 2, like the doubling strategy, you'll end up with over $1 billion. That's the true power of compounding. The formula for compound interest is actually quite simple. Y equals x times 1 plus r to the power of n where. Y is the final result. X is the initial investment. R is the annual return rate. N is the number of years. Even a small change in return rate can make a huge difference over time. For example, at 15% annual return, your money becomes 16.37 times after 20 years. At 20% annual return, it becomes 38.34 times. That's already more than double the outcome. And the longer the time period, the greater the difference. After 50 years, at 15%, your investment becomes 1,083.66 times. At 20%, it becomes 9,100.44 times. The gap now is more than 8 times. That's why being frugal, diligent, and investing wisely is so important. Money you don't need to spend, don't spend. Because even just 10,000 yuan saved today when invested could become a huge sum in the future. When Buffett was starting out, he could afford a house but chose to rent instead. He said, "If I use the money to buy a house, it's like a craftsman throwing away his tools." But the scariest enemy of compound interest is large losses. You also need to minimize friction, like fees, taxes, or unnecessary spending. The plus sign in the compound interest formula is extremely important. Think about it. No matter how much you've built up over 50 years, if in year 51 you lose 100% of your investment, everything is gone. All those decades of effort go up in smoke. That's why the duration of compounding is absolutely critical. At 20% annual return, 10 years equals 6 times your money, 20 years equals 30 times your money, 50 years equals 9,100 times your money. Here's the shocker. The last 5 years of compounding can generate more wealth than the first 45 years combined. Even at 15% return, the final 5 years of a 50-year stretch produce more gains than all the years before it. That's the astonishing magic of compound interest. But there's another catch. The larger the scale, the harder it is to keep the same return rate. As your wealth snowballs, it slows down. Why? Because you're forced to diversify more and good opportunities become rarer. Huge trades can even move the market themselves. This is the kind of problem Buffett and other elite investors face. But for most of us, it's not a concern. What we can learn from Buffett is this: don't just save like a miser. Learn how to grow your money. Saving is a virtue, yes, but saving alone won't make you rich. Since the 2008 global financial crisis, interest rates have stayed low. Money parked in a bank earns little or nothing. Worse, inflation eats away at that tiny return, turning it negative. What sets wealthy people apart is that they deeply understand the concept of opportunity cost. They know how to make the most effective use of every dollar. Opportunity cost means when you're choosing between several uses for your money, the cost is the value of the best option you didn't choose. Let's say you have some money. You could spend it on education and gain knowledge, buy a house and collect rental income, or put it in the bank and earn a fixed interest rate. Every choice has a different opportunity cost. Wealthy people evaluate each option, measuring potential returns and risks, and they make choices that maximize their money's value. They know how to manage time and efficiency. That's their secret to success. Poor people are often focused on saving pennies, carefully budgeting groceries, cooking oil and rice. They work hard to save, while the rich look for ways to earn more. Rich people are often willing to take calculated risk through investment, aiming for higher returns. And when they start early, time multiplies their advantage. For example, if someone earns a 6% annual return and invests 5,000 yuan per month, if they start at age 20, they'll have 10 million by age 60. But if they wait until age 30, they'll only have 5 million. Delaying just 10 years cuts the final wealth in half. That's how powerful time and compounding can be. Time and compound interest don't just build wealth. They also give young people room to make mistakes. Take this example. A 20-year-old who starts investing right away, even if they only earn 2% returns annually, can still build more wealth than someone who starts at age 50 and earns 6% per year. Why? Because time is the most powerful capital. Starting young means you can experiment, learn, and build an investment strategy that suits you over time. Now, let's look at a legendary example: the story of the Nobel Foundation, and why its prize money never runs out. The Nobel Foundation was established in 1896 with a donation of $9.8 million from Alfred Nobel. At first, the foundation had strict rules. The money could only be invested in bank deposits and government bonds. Very low risk, but also low return options. As time passed, prize payouts and operating costs ate away at the fund. After more than 50 years, by 1953, only $3 million remained. Because of inflation, that $3 million was worth only as much as $300,000 in 1896 dollars. The original prize amount started to look embarrassingly small. The Nobel Foundation was on the brink of collapse. So they consulted McKinsey and made a bold move. They turned that remaining $3 million into investment capital and brought in professionals to manage it, investing in stocks and real estate. This decision completely changed the game. By 2024, the Nobel Foundation's assets had grown to $653 million. From 1901 until today, the total amount of prize money awarded has far exceeded Nobel's original donation, all thanks to the power of compound interest and smart investing. From 1901 to 1953, the fund was restricted to super safe investments. Growth was slow, but after 1953, Sweden's government lifted the restrictions, and the foundation began investing in stocks and property. The result? The fund grew by 100 times. Their portfolio in 2024 looked like this: 55.4% equity funds, 8.9% property and infrastructure, 11.9% fixed income, and 23.8% alternative assets. And that's the end of this episode of Dollar X Dollar Finance. If you enjoyed it, remember to like, subscribe, and share. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next video. See you in the next one. Bye.